Dystopian Literature, Session 6, Doing More Wondering. Readers, let me ask you a question. What can you do with a brick? Right now, I'm sure you're thinking, what in the world? But just think about it for a second. How many things do you think you can do with a brick? I want you to sit and think for about 10 seconds and brainstorm in your mind. You can jot a list down the things that you can do for a brick with a brick. All right. Well, hopefully you've come up with at least 4 or 5 uses for your brick. Um, I did too when I was brainstorming. I came up with you can build a house, you can build a mailbox. I see brick mailboxes all the time on the side of the road. You can prop a door open if you need a heavy door, if you need it to stay open, you can prop it open with a brick. And you can border your flower bed. So if I wanted to add a border around my flower bed to help hold my mulch in, I could use bricks to line the edge of my flower bed. So those are some things that I thought of that I can do with a brick. So here's the thing though. I ask you that question because it's a classic question. A classic game to build deeper thinking. Now, a term people sometimes use for this kind of thinking is definitive thinking or divergent thinking. And there's a lot of research out there in a lot of different fields about how you actually deepen your thinking. Doctors are wondering how to deepen their thinking about their patients. Companies are trying to figure out methods to get their employees to think differently about their jobs. And one of the things that all these people have found is that wondering, not being sure, trying out maybes and ifs, asking more questions is really powerful. And the cool thing is that this is true of readers too. So already we've talked about characteristics that we find in dystopian novels. I just want to remind you, they're set in the future. There are a lot of rules. Characters challenge or break some of the rules of the customs. We have characters that respond different ways to power. We have characters, archetypes that's in there. We have complex characters who may fit more than one archetype or may not fit any archetype perfectly. We have characters that face not only personal but external obstacles and also systemic, I can't say that word today, obstacles. And then today, we're going to learn about how dystopian novels reveal details slowly so that you need to push yourself to do more wondering, asking that why, but why, but why. That's what young kids do when they're trying to learn everything about their world. They're asking all kinds of whys. So today, I'm going to teach you that experienced readers of dystopian novels realize that these novels are full of surprises. Things reveal themselves more slowly in these novels, which means that readers of this genre need to prolong their willingness to be uncertain and their openness to new wonderings. And so, what this really means is that don't give up. Dystopian novels take a long time to develop. And you're going, just like I've told you earlier in some of the lessons, you're going to be confused. And the author wants you to be confused because they want you to continue to read on to try to get that realization. That's what they mean by prolong your willingness to be uncertain. How long are you willing to be confused? And then you have to be open to wondering. You've got to wonder. We wonder about all sorts of things in this world. So the trick to wondering is is to remember that it that is your goal, to wonder more. Sometimes being unsure feels like a weakness, But setting a goal around uncertainty can actually turn it into a strength. I like to set a goal like I'll say, or maybe, or ask 5 times, or if I'm really feeling ambitious, I'll try for more. So I'm going to ask, maybe this happened, or why, or what if? And so let's see. I originally told you guys my um, thoughts about what Kish Johnson was using Top Girl as an archetype, like a villain, right? That was one of the very first things that I came up with. I saw Top Girl as mean and an overpowering leader. But let me see. Maybe she's not a dictator, but instead, she's trapped, just like Barbara, into being this way. Or maybe she's like a robot or something. I mean, she is boring and flat. Or maybe she's playing a different role, more like a positive leadership role. Now, I'm sure you're wondering, how are you getting positive leadership out of that? But bear with me because this is my thought on that. Maybe there's some reason why the ponies have things cut off. And so Top Girl is just doing her job. Do you see how that worked? I think I got up to 3 or 4 maybes or wonderings. And I could see, or I hope that you were imagining a lot more as well, um, from our story ponies. So now I have a whole bunch of new ideas that I can explore as I read. So, what I'd like you to do is, I'd like you to give this a try. I want you to think about the book that you're reading and think about one thing, just like I picked with Top Girl, that she was an archetype like a villain. So maybe start with one of your archetypes in your dystopian novel. And I want you to think, what can you wonder about that? What makes you, what can you think? Maybe something's happening. Maybe there's a reason. So do that for just a second. Now, I hope that you've come up with a particular idea. And with that idea, that might mean that your maybes led you to something new and interesting, just like my Top Girl wonderings. Um, but some of you may not have had an idea that you loved right away, and that's fine too. You've got a lot of new thinking done that you can carry through with your reading. So here's one way that you can capture this thinking as you're reading. So you're ready to be able to reflect back on it and look back over and see how your thinking might have changed. So this was my jotting down of my ideas as I was reading the story with the ponies. And you can see I had my idea. It was at the top. Top Girl is a villain. And then I wrote down my initial thinking. Remember, my initial thinking way back in lesson 1 was that she's so mean and overpowering, but she is a leader. And then I started thinking, well, maybe not so evil. She could be stuck too. Or maybe she's a robot because she's boring, or maybe doing her job. She's an actual leader. So, do you see how I used this note taking to help me kind of develop my wonderings, so that I can go back and look upon it after I get done, or when I get to a certain point, I might go back and circle one if I ended up being right. So, um, here's, as you go off to read today, I want you to stop and jot. And I want you to push yourself to jot more maybes or whys. You might even find yourself wanting to go back to some earlier reading that you've done and kind of quick revise your thinking. But today, when you go off to reading, um, Miss Gardner will have a place in your slide for you to kind of do this sort of note taking that I did. You're going to want to wonder more. Wondering is good. So that's all for today. Here is a summary of everything we've learned so far about dystopian novels. We've got one more big idea, and we'll hit that tomorrow. So happy reading in your dystopian novels. Have a great day.